All right, greetings and salutations, everybody, and welcome back to the damn podcast. It's been a very long time since we last done this, but it's so good to be back. Today, I'm joined by my buddy Jake
Hello.
and my buddy Nick.
What's up, y'all?
Man, guys, it's been a long time. So glad to finally be back. Sorry about the delay. It's been a very busy year for me, at least. Starting my new job and everything, but glad to be back and everything. So there's a couple topics we're going to talk about today that we've had some of our fans email in to us. But to start off, we're going to start talking off with Spider-Man No Way Home. Guys, let's just get this ball going. So in my perspective, Spider-Man No Way Home, and Jake maybe not a fan of this comment, but I think it's the best Spider-Man movie out of all the Spider-Man with Toby, Andrew, and everything and whatnot. But personally, to me, I think it kind of fulfilled all the nostalgia of bringing back the older Spider-Man to the younger one with Tom Holland and whatnot. So, guys, like, let's chime in. Let's just talk about it. So how'd y'all feel about the movie, honestly?
I definitely would say it is in the realm of a top three Marvel movie all time. Call me crazy. Call me crazy.
What is the other two?
Hmm.
The obvious ones, or is it like
Infinity War and Endgame. Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, so
I
I
still
may have to
not.
agree with Nick on this.
Yeah. I don't know if I have my definitive top three of where I'm gonna place all three of those yet, but definitely top three all time. Um, it kind of rounded out everyone's story between Andrew and Toby, which I think we all kind of expected going in that Toby and Andrew were going to show up, but I don't think we knew how it was going to happen and how their stories were kind of going to unfold. But I think they kind of did it beautifully and kind of, yeah, they did it really well. Like they did them justice, is what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, and I agree
mean,
with. Yeah, go ahead, Jake.
I, not watching all the Spider-Man movies until later on in the game. I guess I don't really have like the build up from not really liking Andrew's movies as much compared to Toby, like a lot of the fan base must have for years. And so I don't know, I felt like they really did a better job of like moving him into this possible next wave to make people like him a little bit more. And I don't know, I kind of like him a little bit more now too.
Yeah, and just to kind of go off about what both of y'all had said, they kind of finished out the kind of leading on the story even more where we left off with like Andrew's Spider-Man and then Toby's Spider-Man. Personally, I think it kind of reamped the fandom for at least Andrew's Spider-Man because I mean, let's get real. Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2 was just absolutely atrocious altogether. Like too many things getting piled up on top to try to make something very beautiful. And what I think I like that John Watts did was kind of reamp the villains, like kind of give them a better storyline, like Electro, for example, Jamie Foxx. Like we talked about this in the previous podcast episodes before that we had our speculations of like which villains are going to pop up. And of course, I think all our speculations came true with Green Goblin, Electro, Doc Ock, and Sand. Well, I don't think Sandman was one that we had talked about, but they kind of left his story out, kind of finished really in Spider-Man 3, but in the sense of like, I think they kind of John Watts did a very good job of like culminating and kind of not only finishing this iteration of Spider-Man with Tom Holland, but kind of pushing everything forward for the possibility of like Tobey Maguire coming back, which there's a lot of rumors going around that like there could be a possible Spider-Man 4 with Sam Raimi, which I think would be personally pretty good. Now, I don't know how you, yeah, exactly. But my thing is, how would y'all feel about, that happening with Sam Raimi coming back to possibly direct a Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire?
I mean, wasn't that supposed to happen like after 3? Like they were already in talks about 4 and it
I
just didn't happen.
I think so, but I think it ended up being like a creative difference, and then how poorly Spider-Man 3 like did in box office, in the sense of like it just did not do good. And they were
I
like,
kind of
Sony
wish
was
they
like,
would have had some creative differences about 3 because that
Yeah.
was not really
I
that
think,
great.
wasn't it, Jordan, correct me if I'm wrong, in 3, the plot got changed around a bunch of times because they really wanted to force in the Venom storyline in the plot. And it kind of went against what Sam Raimi's like vision for 3 was originally, right?
yeah. So, and that's where it, that I don't think it was necessarily beef that Sam Raimi had with Sony, but in the sense like Sony back then was very prominent of putting like their influence on the movie, whether it was the director's choice or not. And they kind of had Sam Raimi do his own thing with the Spider-Man movies up till 3. So yeah. And I mean, I'm kind of glad that, Marvel and Sony have this deal to where Marvel has the creative control of the Spider-Man movies and what gets put in it, but Sony just has to approve basically in that sense. But I mean, Andrew Garfield, not Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, he's like what, 50 something now or something like that?
I don't know if he's that old. He's maybe in
No,
his
he's not.
40s.
Is he late 40s? I can't
Probably
remember.
like early mid 40s.
Okay,
Oh,
for some reason I was thinking he was a little bit
yeah.
older, because I knew that was like a big thing with him, was like, I don't know if I can do this, come back in that role to be physically, in shape to fit back in that suit. But it was great.
46.
46. Okay, there you go. So he late 40s, not too bad,
Mhm.
but I mean, you got to also think too, like actors getting up in that age, like can they physically do these roles? I mean,
Mhm.
take Robert Downey Jr. doing Iron Man, and I think he just turned like 60 something, if I'm not mistaken, a couple weeks ago.
He's older.
Yeah. So I mean, now let's talk about the hype of it. Like, now we had talked about it before, our speculations and everything. Did this movie live up to the hype that it was, campaigning for, going for the audience and everything? Like, what's y'all's opinion about that?
Well, I think me and Jake may be on the same page here. I feel like it definitely surpassed the hype, even that we set for it. And I feel like movies hardly ever live up to the expectations we set for them when we hype them up as much as we did for this film. But especially Jake and I know that we feel that Green Goblin absolutely stole the show.
Yeah.
Like, he just an incredible performance. And I think for sure he's a one of the top MCU villains all time. And we may test that theory this summer too when Thor: Love and Thunder comes out and we see Gore the God Butcher, because that may be a contender right there. But that's my thoughts on the first one.
Yeah, and
I mean,
oh, go ahead, Jake.
no, I love how much like William Dafoe is committed to the role, because like he could have just said no and then just ruined the whole thing and then they CGI a mask character, but like his face is the face of Green Goblin. Like he's terrifying, and so like spamming the nostalgia button, yeah, but like it just, some about his aura and in the character that he's committed to is just, it like exceeded expectations in that regard in the movie.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, who would you get to replace like that role? Like, honestly, I don't think of any other actor that you could possibly exactly like.
No.
Now there are great actors out there that could do the job, but I mean, in the sense of like William Dafoe owned it in that first Spider-Man movie, and I'm kind of glad that they kind of took away the mask in No Way Home. That way, you could really see him really get into that character and see his like expressions, especially in those fight scenes, where I guess when was it, when Peter was helping fix the villains basically, and all of a sudden
He
Green
gets
Goblin.
Batista bomb through an entire apartment complex.
Exactly. So I mean, but like, I remember when I went to go see Spider-Man, like 6 years old, 7 years old, and seeing William Dafoe like turn that switch on when he's talking to himself in the mirror and the goblin's talking to him.
Mhm.
And it's just like, and that wasn't like he did it on this run of it and then went back and did it. No, he was doing it as the camera was just turning back and forth. And it just, that scared me as a kid. And then just seeing it now, being 26 years old, seeing that in this movie, still kind of like, oh my God, he kind of still scared and everything. But
And honestly, a big smile came to my face when he said the line as he was fighting Peter in that complex. It was strong enough to have it all, too weak to take it.
Yeah.
That sold the performance for me personally. I was, oh my God, unreal.
But yeah, I mean, like this movie, and and then RIP. The end of May happened 2 days ago, and then it was
Spoiler.
claimed that it was William Dafoe's day because he ended May. Nice little Twitter humor and everything, but I thought that was pretty good. Now let's talk about our favorite moment of the movie. Personally, I liked when all three Peters were in the science lab at the school, and they're all kind of showing that Peter Parker like science smartness and everything, and them doing kind of helping each other to fix the antidotes for all the villains and whatnot. And then you had some people claim it's not the meme of them pointing at each other and whatnot, but when Ned's like Peter, and then they all like, yeah. I thought that was great.
Personally. It was like a subtle, like, let's not make it an obvious meme, but like let's kind of pander to the audience.
Yeah. Nick, what was one of your favorite moments of the movie?
For me personally, just trying to think outside of the box here. Really towards the end when Tom Holland Peter, I don't have to specify, what is it, Peter 1, he was in the movie, when he's fighting Green Goblin and he's just channeling his anger, just beating William Dafoe absolute to death, and he picks up the glider and he's gonna stab him, like he originally dies in the OG Spider-Man. And then Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man comes in and stops him, and he doesn't even need to say anything. It says everything in his facial expression, like, this is what I've learned from my universe. Like, you can't use hate to, you can't let hate overcome you. You gotta realize, you need to forgive. You need to let things go. And that was just kind of super powerful and meaningful to me, at least. And that was really one of my favorite parts of the movie, personally.
Yeah, and I agree. Like that scene, like towards that end, like that just gave all the feels personally. But Jake, what was one of your favorite moments, man?
I mean, like an obvious one, just like a little one, when they finally decide what the plan is, and then they all run off the balcony and jump, and just it's about go time. I don't know, that's one of them, but also the Andrew saving Zendaya,
Oh, MJ. Yeah,
as a redemptive aspect from the past movie, just like, I don't know, it just felt right.
Oh yeah, man. Like that's one of my favorite scenes too, is when they're all like, I thought you were Peter 1. No, I'm Peter 2. Like, and then I thought that was great. Which is I think as it kind of helped kind of relieve the comedy in it and whatnot, kind of made it a little bit more, engaging towards like audiences everywhere. Like, this is not just a serious movie, like there's some comedy in it. But yeah, and then like what you said, him redeeming himself with the Gwen Stacy death, like, and that's a comic like scene straight from the books and everything. But yeah, there's so much in this movie that like Nick said, like Infinity War, Endgame are like in my top 3, but like Spider-Man No Way Home, like, I mean, Jake can attest to this. He's seen me in Endgame the night we went to go see it, tears rolling down my face. Oh man. But I mean, it's just this movie, like seeing your favorite character and then seeing all the other iterations of it, just kind of settled in and kind of made me feel like, man, if they can do this with other, Marvel movies, because in the sense of what we're about to talk about here with Doctor Strange and everything into the multiverse of madness, there's some speculations about, there being secret wars, which is just basically every variant of every character, balling out, battling each other. But, all right, guys, well, let's drop down to the comments. Let us know your thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home. All right. So now our next topic, like I said, we're going to talk about Doctor Strange into the multiverse of madness. So, Jake, I want to get your opinion on this first, man. Like, you were the first one out of all of us to really have a, definitive comment and feeling about the movie, man. Like, just walk us through what you were thinking about it the whole time.
I don't know. I guess I missed, like, I thought it was going to be like shot similar to the first one, which is like lots of geometrical shapes and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But it really played more into the hand of the Scarlet Witch and more of like the magic side.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's good because like I enjoyed WandaVision and that character growing, but I guess my expectations were inject Doctor Strange one into my veins, like same thing. But I don't know. I mean the movie was fine. I guess I just thought something else was gonna happen.
Yeah, and you're not alone in that, because that's kind of how I felt about the two. I think I had this expectation of it kind of being similar to the first Doctor Strange, like visually, with like him doing and traveling the multiverse, like the ancient one did with it, like her putting her finger or hand up to his head and then him just teleporting through all these dimensions and everything. But I also think too, with COVID and everything, this Doctor Strange was supposed to come out before Spider-Man No Way Home, but because of COVID and everything, they had to kind of switch the storylines around for both Spider-Man No Way Home and then Doctor Strange. So that may have kind of played into what we were going to get versus what we got. And then of course, the director Scott Derrickson, there was a creative difference between him and Marvel on like what this movie was going to be. Because at first it was supposed to be like Nightmare, which is a demon basically from another dimension and going around terrorizing, all these people in their dreams and making them do stuff. But, I think that kind of got switched around because of COVID. And then when Sam Raimi came on board, I think they had an idea of a story and they just kind of played 1 and 2, putting them both together with Scott Dickinson's storyline too that he had written for the movie. And but I feel the same way. It just kind of, I wish there was more to the multiverse in that sense, because what we got, what was like three or four different universes that we got teleported to and whatnot.
Yeah.
And and then the consequences of it, like what's the big deal, like. And then like you said too, with WandaVision, I really enjoyed WandaVision, and I was really excited for her to be a part of this. But I was not expecting her to be the big bad villain of the movie, because that's not what we have been seeing her go through with all the trauma and everything. But I'm on the same boat with you. Like it kind of lived up to the expectations, but kind of didn't at the same time. Nick, you saw it with us, man. Or yeah, you saw it with us, man. What'd you feel about the movie and whatnot?
See, I may be in the minority here, but I personally loved it. I think it was just something different than we've seen than most Marvel films, personally. And with Sam Raimi, it was something I kind of expected. Going in, he has a past of, kind of more darker films, darker plot lines, that kind of stuff. So, maybe it wasn't to the extent I thought it was going to be, because there were some pretty brutal deaths. I know with, spoiler alert, Professor X getting his just head absolutely snapped by Wanda.
And then what about Mr. Fantastic? All the Illuminati.
John Krasinski being in the film for 5 minutes and then getting turned into string cheese. Yeah, that's
and let's talk about that. That's one cameo. We speculated for so everybody wanted him to be Mr. Fantastic, and I'm really surprised they kept that under wraps as best as they could.
Yeah,
because I think when it happened with us, the crowd went ballistic. and
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
like clapping the whole time. I didn't hear no dialogue of what he was saying because everyone, yeah, John Krasinski, and it was just absolutely, but yeah, Nick, it just, I'm a big Marvel fan just as much as anybody else in our group and whatnot, but like that, and I kind of agree with you. There is a Sam Raimi, like, oh, this is heavily Sam Raimi like footprint, like how it's shot, how some scenes are, very graphic and everything. I mean, look at Sinister Strange, how he died out the window, lands on the fence. Come on now, like
Strange kebab.
yeah, and then the Illuminati, like Scarlet Witch, just like with Black Bolt, when Mr. Fantastic was like, Black Bolt can kill you with just one sound of his voice, with his mouth or something like that, and then she turns her head and she's like, "What mouth?" And then I was like, "Oh my god!" But I mean, but like this movie, I think there are some things that are working for it, but honestly, one of the big things is, with me at least, was we really didn't get no character growth with America Chavez. Personally, like we total of like 5-6 minutes of like getting a kind of background of like where she comes from, and all that, and then all of a sudden at the end of the movie, she can control her powers. Come on now, like that's just lazy writing.
True. Because I guess that's what I liked with Doctor Strange 1 and like most character developing movies. It's like you saw the entire like highs, the fall, and then the building to the character. And with her, it's just like, oh yeah, she has powers. Boom. All right. Ending.
Which is odd too, because essentially the entire plot is revolving around her powers and being able to control going from, to different multiverses. So the fact she had the least amount of character development, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but
yeah,
it
and
just
I
shows that it's rushed. It's
and
rushed.
like I said, this movie, I mean, like I said, it was supposed to come out way before, No Way Home was supposed to come out, but I don't know if that was just the writing, because I think they had the Loki series from Disney Plus. They had that writer come in and kind of help out with Sam Raimi, finishing up the story, because Scott Derrickson, left, and he was in the midst of like writing the movie. He still got credit for it in the end credit scenes of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, but it's just a crazy thing to see how much some storylines can change. And and then personally, I think with Doctor Strange's storyline and everything, I think there was a pretty good amount of growth character wise, with like Christine getting married. Is he truly happy? Things that I'm glad these Marvel movies kind of make feel normal towards regular people like us, like, oh, lost the girlfriend, or oh, I lost my dog, or I'm going through bankruptcy, how am I going to pay my rent, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm really glad that they make these characters have these human emotions, problems, that you can relate to them and everything, because at some point I really felt bad for Doctor Strange. It's just like, dang, dude, gets snapped away, girlfriend from the first movie gets engaged, married, and all you can really do is just be happy for it. But and then the end, when towards the end, especially with the end credit scene with Clea, which I don't know if y'all boys know this, but that's actually his wife in the comic books, and she's Dormammu, the first villain from the first movie. That's if I'm not mistaken, that's his niece, great niece, or something like that. So, but just the consequences, I think that's a really big deal with this movie, and I think that's what a lot of people have a problem with. It's just like there was really no consequence of him traveling all these multiverses and whatnot to different universes. Just besides, John Krasinski's Mr. Fantastic saying you created an incursion, which is just two universes just combining together, and then whether or not both of them live is a whole up to ultimate power. But But I mean, overall, I kind of agree. The movie really didn't live up to the hype, but like I agree with Jake, it wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't as good as I thought it could have been.
It
Like the
was
first
an
Doctor
all
Strange.
it was an all right Marvel movie until the kids started singing the ice cream song, and then it was just the stock just plummeted, and it
Oh,
was a horrible film.
but yeah. So, guys, let us know how y'all feel about Doctor Strange down below in the comments. Okay. All right. So, next topic is the big one that Nick kind of mentioned earlier, which is Thor, Love, and Thunder. Now, Marvel has been keeping this one pretty tight to their chest, and Taika Waititi has been coming out lately, and even with the trailers and everything, said that this movie will have the best villain the MCU has ever seen. Now, personally, I don't know how you
Impossible.
exactly like how can you
Thanos.
top Thanos?
Thanos.
And
Thanos was the most like poetic villain I think I've ever heard.
and
Like he
even
just
then,
dropped bars.
And even then, you can understand Thanos' reasons why he was the way he was in
He
Infinity
was
War.
right.
Now in now in Endgame, that's supposed to be a younger Thanos. That was before he was wanting to, understand what his thought process was before he went to, collect the stones and everything. But like for Taika Waititi to say, Gore the God Butcher is the best Marvel villain yet, that's speaking very highly of Christian Bale coming into this role, because he said after the Batman series, he was done with superhero movies. So that makes me want to think, how did this script, like, is this script even better than Ragnarok? Because I thought Ragnarok was like chef's kiss. So
I mean, the script might be good, but I bet that check was talking. Okay.
Money
For him
talks.
to come out of
Money
retirement,
talks.
money does talk. But I mean, we're gonna get his best. I just know it because like he always like goes probably over the line with committing to method acting. And
yeah,
so,
but that's
hopefully,
not
and I
necessarily a bad
mean,
thing though.
yeah. And considering that, Korg, the best character in the entire MCU, is played by the guy that's
Direct.
directing the thing,
Directing, yeah.
I I think it's gonna be pretty good. If he says it's better than that,
Yeah.
I
better
believe.
than I'll take his word for it.
Yeah. Now, Nick,
Especially
I mean,
correct me-
say it
I'm
again,
sorry.
Nick.
I'm sorry. Correct me if I'm wrong. He directed Ragnarok, did he not?
Yeah, he did.
Taika
Yeah.
Waititi. Yeah. Yeah. So if he says that, I'm gonna believe it. I just from the trailer, it's just one of the best opening trailers. One of the best trailers for like a Marvel film I've seen in a long time.
Mm.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that includes No Way Home. Like whoever's making these trailers, editing these trailers for Marvel, they need a pay raise because this is incredible. And I
Facts.
personally think the backstory of Gore the God Butcher, it's gonna set up for an incredible film, personally.
Yeah, and it's absolutely crazy, especially when we're going to get two Thors, because Jane Foster's coming back and she's holding Mjolnir. Like, even though it's all still kind of shattered and put together, but Taika Waititi said with this story, it's a love story. Like, hint, hint, Deadpool. How Deadpool 2 was a love story, or what was it, number 2 or number 1? I can't remember, but it, like, he really said that like her coming back is a very important thing, and I'm wondering if they really are going to go with the Jane Foster storyline from the comic books, where she gets diagnosed with cancer, but with her having the Thor powers, kind of helps with the whole, irritation, cancer really destroying her body, but her also using the Thor power, is also killing her as well. So, I'm interested to see how that, and then all three. So, Thor, Valkyrie, and then Jane coming back. I'm really interested to see how all three of those characters are going to interact with one another, because, you kind of got that hint at the end of Endgame with Valkyrie and Thor, when Thor's giving Valkyrie the throne. like you thought for a second he was going to lean in for a kiss, but like how awkward is that to kind of see,
Yeah.
ex-girlfriend, new girlfriend put like all in a
Yeah.
room together. It's like, how do you know Thor?
You can
Yeah,
definitely tell from the trailer that Thor is still hung up on Jane, which
oh yeah.
rightfully so. Rightfully so.
Yeah. So, and it's just, I trust Taika Waititi, especially with all the movies he's been coming out with and directing and whatnot. What's the movie that he did with Scarlett Johansson? That he was the not
Oh, are you talking about Jojo Rabbit
Jojo
recently?
Rabbit.
Yes.
That
Phenomenal
was so
movie.
good.
Phenomenal movie.
Great movie.
And I really trust his like judgment on certain things that need to happen in a movie. So, and then the second trailer, let's talk about the second trailer. The first trailer we know that kind of amped us up and was like, oh, this is going to be great. And then the second trailer got dropped a couple weeks ago and it was like, oh my God, we got our first look at Gore the God Butcher, and he looks nothing like he did in the comic books. But I'm glad they went that route because Christian Bale, like Jake said, he's a very character driven actor, and I think him being able to see his facial expressions really will bring the character out, and then just how he looks, the black goo coming from his face, and then how he talks, I guess, to Thor in some point of the movie, because that's what we got in the trailer, really amps up the whole hype of that. So
yeah, it's kind of like the Defoe thing. It's just like if it works, the less CGI, I guess, the better.
yeah. So I mean, Nick, like, and then the second part of the trailer, too, at the very end, where you finally see Russell Crowe as Zeus, and he's like, "Let's find out who you really are under there," and flicks his hand, and Thor's just butt naked, and it's like, what on earth are we doing here, Marvel?
Which I
Like,
know you've seen that too, but someone pointed out that actually on his back he has a tattoo that says "Rest in Peace, Loki." Like
yeah,
R.I.P.
and then it's
Loki.
like Loki's crown with the horns and everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which that'll be quite awkward if he ends up showing up, or
That and
somehow.
and I honestly, like, what's y'all's prediction on that? Because they green lit a season 2 of Loki, and they're already starting to I think they're starting to film it or about to start filming it. Like, what do y'all think the chances of like Loki popping up in this movie?
I think it's possible, but I don't know how that'll go in conjunction with season 2 of Loki.
Mhm.
I'm not remembering exactly off the top of my head how the first season ended, but I remember like they were still trying to figure out how to get back to um help me out here.
So yeah, at the end of season 1 of Loki, Kang got killed by Sylvie, and that caused his other variants, as he said, um, to go rampant. And apparently, the one that is the big baddie is the one that we saw the statue of, which supposedly is supposed to show up in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania in some shape, form, or fashion. I really don't know how they're going to play that character Ant-Man into that mythos of multiverse and everything. But um, but I don't know necessarily if it really changed reality or it changed to a different universe, because the timeline then just started to spew. And that's how we were able to get, supposedly, this is what Kevin Feige said, was how we got Spider-Man to bring in other Spider-Man from other universes, and then how Doctor Strange, how all that stuff happened in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, so. But Jake,
So
I mean,
whether or
what?
not it's a variant or not, I mean, I definitely think it's possible. And that may
Yeah,
be like a little Easter egg thing too, that they showed us that back tattoo of Thor. But
yeah. And Jake, I mean, what do you think, man? Do you think it's likely we'll see Loki pop up in this movie, maybe as an end credit scene or something?
Probably more likely in credit scene to set up for the second season. It'd be kind of forced
Yeah.
to kind of like too much going on to just randomly bring in Loki, considering where he is currently. And I mean, it'll just nod to it, and then maybe they'll like have a little snippet, but it's not like he's got this whole scene where he comes back. I mean, I hope he doesn't come back in a like 5 or 10 minute clip of the movie. I'd rather it just be what we're doing with like the love triangle that we've got and the current villain that we're trying to introduce. And so I don't know. I mean, is this supposed to be what's the name of the guy that plays Thor? I forget.
Oh, Chris Hemsworth.
Mhm.
Is this his last Thor film?
See, and that's where speculation's just coming around. Like he said he's wanting to do Thor for a long time, and I think Marvel wants to keep him around for a long
Well,
time.
he's
But
he's the only person I could see kind of playing Thor.
Yeah.
Like he just is Thor.
yeah, and I hope he sticks around, like, because I definitely enjoyed the character and kind of the reamp of him in Ragnarok, and and then just based off what we've seen so far with the trailers and everything with this new one, Love and Thunder. Like I want more of this. Like if we can keep spewing out movies like this, especially with him, I think it'd be a fantastic, um, marriage between actor and studios and whatnot.
I liked Thor 1. I'm not like I get why people don't like Thor the Dark World, but like I like the first one. Like I thought it was just that overwhelmingly masculine Greek god like character that's kind of just a bonehead. But I do like that they resurrected him and made him more of a comedic relief. It's like the dumb jock in the movie. It's just it's there and it really helps.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, drop down in the comments. Let us know how you feel about Thor: Love and Thunder, and what you think. Some speculations are going to happen with this movie. Is Chris Hemsworth ending his role? So drop down in the comments. Let us know your thoughts about Thor: Love and Thunder. All right, next topic we're going to talk about is some Disney Plus Marvel shows. Okay, I think the last one we talked about was, I think it may have been Hawkeye, or at least we started mentioning Hawkeye on the last episode of the podcast. But at least I saw Hawkeye, was not very impressed with it, to be honest with you. I think it wasn't even more so centric around Hawkeye itself. They was more so Kate Bishop driven, I think. But that's just me. Have both of y'all seen Hawkeye, or what's your thoughts on that?
I personally liked Hawkeye. I felt like it was a bit of a change of pace for the Marvel shows. But I definitely feel like Kate Bishop was more of a like a pathway to setting up Young Avengers and just kind of giving her a backstory for that.
Yeah.
But also I feel like introducing Kingpin was it was massive for obviously the more recent news of Daredevil being brought back in a new way to Disney Plus. That's huge, and I feel like that was kind of a little gateway for that to happen. But I do feel like, if you've seen Daredevil, Kingpin was a little bit toned down a little bit for the youngins on Disney Plus, because he's a lot more brutal in the Netflix show.
Oh yeah, no, I agree completely. But like you said, like they brought Kingpin back, but I mean they brought Matt Murdock back in Spider-Man No Way Home. Like,
didn't even talk about that. That's huge.
And that was huge, and like everybody was like, oh, there's a court scene in Spider-Man No Way Home. Will Daredevil himself pop back up and everything? And that was a crowd pleaser right there, just to see Charlie Cox back. And even Kevin Feige said like there was nobody else we could really replace to play that role. And he said that about Professor X with Patrick Stewart and Multiverse of Madness when he showed up. And then the same with Alfred Molina and William Dafoe coming back as their characters in Spider-Man No Way Home. So, but like
he got his applause in the theater. Like it was a big deal seeing him on the screen, just as much as, maybe not as much, but all these other characters.
I feel like it was only like people that were really, like, I guess, hardcore fans that actually have seen the Daredevil series.
Yeah,
like
the B-side.
But I mean, like, you're right. And I'm glad that they opened up to having it come back. Now the big question is whether or not, is it still going to be the same Daredevil? Because it not necessarily the same Kingpin that we saw in Hawkeye, that we saw in the Netflix series. Like he's not as big, or at least he didn't look as big to me from the Netflix series to the Hawkeye series, and he wasn't as brutal or mischievous in that sense. At least to me, at least that's how he felt to me.
No,
personally, but
he definitely felt toned down. But I
yeah,
think the one saving grace that we can see in this is that when like Daredevil and Punisher, another great show, and like
yep.
all the other Netflix shows that got taken down from Netflix, they got put on Disney Plus, and none of them were really, well, I don't think at all. Besides like putting up like a little warning, like graphic content, obviously, it's all on Disney Plus,
Yeah,
uncensored, just brutal.
yeah,
And I think also going a little bit off topic too, if we can see more recent shows like Obi-Wan, if we get to that, like you could see the brutality in that, and they're
mhm.
not holding back at all.
Oh yeah, and even just to go off of Obi-Wan, like these first 3 episodes, dear God, like if Marvel can do some of the things that they're doing with like the Mandalorian or Obi-Wan or the new Ahsoka that's about to come out and everything, like I think we wouldn't have this discussion about like is Marvel kind of, losing their taste or their speed up on quality of, material, because that's been like a deciding factor, because, like how me and Jake kind of felt about Doctor Strange, like it kind of really didn't live up to the hype that we, were expecting with this, central character. And, and then, Shang-Chi, I thought was a pretty good, solo movie for what it was, an origin movie about that character. But then you had like Black Widow, which really, honestly, I don't know why snooze fest. I don't know why they did that movie. Like
They
a
should
prequel
never
to
have
Civil
even
War.
made that movie.
And, I would have to probably agree with you on that. Like there was absolutely no reason for that movie to be there. But
It would have been fine, like if it was like the last phase, like it's just a movie during the time. But it's just like
Yeah.
to start off everything with such a snooze fest. I literally fell asleep watching
yeah.
the movie. Like it was just and then it's like is she not just done? Like like Scarlett Johansson,
Oh yeah, no, like
like
well, I say her contract's up. She may have signed like a multi-movie uh deal after, the whole end game thing with her falling to her death to get the soul stone, but she got like executive producer credits for Black Widow, so that makes me think that, she may have some importance somewhere down the line, whether that's her acting in another movie as Black Widow, or now that we have Doctor Strange with the multiverse, a different variant of Black Widow, like kind of how we had the What If Black Widow right there,
okay.
so
I mean, it just didn't seem like it was building up to anything later on. It just felt like
yeah.
I
a
feel
point.
like the only thing really was important for was, which I feel like a lot of these movies are starting to do this now. It was introducing the character of Yelena, her sister,
Mm-hmm.
that we haven't really gotten a backstory on. And obviously, she's in Hawkeye,
Yeah.
and she has her whole little storyline of trying to avenge her sister's death. And we kind of open and close that plot line by the end, the finale of Hawkeye, kind of in
Yeah.
a wholesome manner.
If
On
you
that ice
watched
rink in
Hawkeye,
the middle of Rockefeller Center. But yeah,
It,
um,
it,
that's
but yeah, no, go ahead.
oh no, that was my first thing. But I was also gonna kind of my second little point I was gonna mention too is I feel like between Star Wars and Marvel, everyone's kind of going back and forth like, oh, who's better right now, going in the future. I think Marvel's definitely figured out films. Like
Yeah.
they're pulling in revenue. They know
formula
how to make these films. Star Wars, a little rough. Haven't made one in 4
a
years, and there's one
little.
coming out next year. Yeah, that's an understatement. But I feel like Star Wars, they've figured out the recipe for the Disney Plus shows and the series, you know, between Mandalorian, now Obi-Wan, to an extent, Book of Boba Fett, and they're just pumping out these shows, and it's continual bangers, essentially, for me at least.
Yeah.
But
And
that's my
you know, just like how what you were saying, like, you know, I think Marvel has a good sense on how to make a good movie where it's going to bring people in and they're going to get money for that movie. But like being a big Marvel fan now and then having Disney Plus, you know, WandaVision I thought was spectacular. Like I thought they did a really good job telling a story overall and good quality. And even the timing for it, even some episodes may have been shorter than others. Um, you know, I thought the timing for each episode was pretty good for its like individual storytelling for the main story. Whereas, you know, Mandalorian, like we were getting like what 40 minutes on average for that. And it told a story within itself and then kind of cultivated its thing towards the season 2. And shoot, even then with the Book of Boba Fett, that one was kind of, at least to me, I don't know how you feel about it, Nick. You are a Star Wars expert in this group, but to me, that really didn't feel like a Boba Fett, you know,
no,
kind
not
of
at all.
series to be. It felt like more of a, hey, here's a cameo of all these other Star Wars characters.
You know, like
At
a lot
least
of
to
people
me.
said, it was Mandalorian season 2.5.
Exactly. And that's
In
exactly how it
reality,
felt.
there's 7 episodes, and 2 of them are spent where you don't even see the main character of the title card of the show, and it's all spent on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which, I mean, I'm not going to complain, but don't name it Book of Boba Fett if it's not going to have Boba Fett in it. I mean,
exactly.
really.
It's a book with Boba Fett.
Yeah, a
There
book
you
with
go.
Boba Fett. There's the real
Subtitle with him in it. But like, but I mean, like going off of Obi-Wan, you know, Obi-Wan, like this series, right off the
last
bat,
episode,
the
latest
third episode, man.
Oh my gosh.
Spoiler alert, like Darth Vader coming back. And I'm surprised they did the fight between them two so early in the series. Now, there has been a video going around with Star Wars Celebration last week where Ian McGregor came and had went on stage and was like, thank y'all so much for, you know, loving this character, really, you know, pursuing this series to be such a big deal. He was like, I can't wait for you to enjoy episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then it was like a pause for a second, and he was like 7, 8, 9, 10. And it's like, wait a minute, hold on. Disney told us it was only a 6 series episode. Like, are we getting more? And I think that would be great for this story, you know, development of this character, because it really showing us what happened to him between Revenge of the Sith and then episode 4, and like what really happened. But like episode 3, oh, I was in tears. Like I was just like, oh, sweet baby Jesus. Like Anakin, this ain't Anakin no more. Like Anakin's gone.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Now, Nick, like you're the biggest Star Wars fan, my guy. Let's hear your reaction so far on this series, man.
I could talk for hours on end about this show. I mean, just with Obi-Wan, the main character of this series, we're really starting to see. I think Ewan McGregor is just portraying him just like nothing ever happened. I mean, we're 17 years after Revenge of the Sith released in theaters, and it's just he picked this character right back up where he left off. And granted, this is taking place 10 years after Revenge of the Sith happened.
Yeah.
And I think the writer's doing an incredible job with him showing this like transition we're starting to see into more of an Alec Guinness Obi-Wan Kenobi that we see, or should I say Ben Kenobi that we see in A New Hope. Beyond that, with Reva at least, you know, the first 2 episodes, well, let's do the elephant in the room, all of the hate she's been getting for this character. It's boiled down to the writing of her character personally, you know, an actor.
Yeah, no, and I agree. Like there's only so much an actor can do with the material that they are given.
They're
So
hired to do the job, not like it's
Yeah. And she acted exactly how the script, you know, told her to act.
yeah,
I will say the first two episodes, I wasn't really that impressed with her. But third episode, I personally enjoyed her a lot more. And there's definitely a theory going around with her that, you know, how we started in the very first episode with the Order 6016 in the Jedi Temple.
yeah,
There's a theory that she was actually one of the younglings that were in the temple during that scene, and that's ultimately why, you know, she turned and she has this resentment for Obi-Wan because he sort of, you know, I guess allowed
just
this to
dip, yeah,
happen.
dip, didn't do
Kind of,
anything.
yeah. Um, and this is moreover, like the theory of how she knows that Anakin is Darth Vader, because, you know, in comics, in the comics, it shows that anyone that knew that Anakin was Darth Vader, he would kill, like on sight. He
Yeah,
was ruthless. He would kill anyone that knew, and he didn't care. So, you know, the theory is that she was in the Jedi Temple during that, and she saw Anakin, you know, massacring all of them, and
hmm,
obviously, you know, but yeah, in terms of episode 3, oh my god, like the parallel of him, Obi-Wan getting burned by Anakin to feel the suffering,
hmm.
Mm,
it's just so dark and so
yeah.
deep.
That's what
And just
yeah.
the fight between them, how like I want to say Anakin, but that's really not Anakin no more. Like just Darth Vader, how he like was just like using one hand on a lightsaber against Kenobi, and it's just like effortless. Like it's just like, oh, you're not as
He
strong
was
as you used to
absolutely,
be,
yeah,
Obi-Wan.
he was absolutely holding back.
Yeah.
And
But like some of it like the part with the fire in the last episode, it kind of showed it as
Yeah.
Anakin, like he had not forgotten. Like he
mhm,
could have just killed him if he wanted to. Like the
Yeah.
strength was obvious, but he sat there and he wanted to see him suffer and
yeah.
burn the way
And
that
I
he
think
did.
that's personally why he partially let Anakin, I mean, not Anakin, why he let Obi-Wan go. Like
Yeah.
that the suit he has on can withstand anything. He can go
Hmm.
underwater in it. He can go through fire. He can go in lava. He can do anything. That suit is basically impenetrable. Like he
It's
could
made
have
out
just
of
walked through
vibranium.
fire. Yeah, he could have just forced away the fire, put it out, and just gone and just killed Obi-Wan. But he knows, he like a predator. He enjoys the chase.
Yeah.
He enjoys trying to find him. He wanting him to suffer. It's a mind game. Obi-Wan is, you know, when he heard that Anakin was alive, it petrified him.
Yeah.
Like he's
And
just constantly under this stress that he's gonna get found and killed.
And
And
I mean, even then, in like, I think it was like the first episode, it may have been the second one where he's like sleeping and he's just seeing all these like flashbacks to like like him fighting Anakin and you were my brother Anakin and all this, and it was just all the feels, man. Like you can truly
Mhm.
sense like he cared about him as like a son, even though they call each other brothers. I honestly think it was more so a father-son dynamic between them two. Um, at some point later on in the prequels, but I really feel like Obi-Wan has, not as powerful as he used to be because like you said, it takes 10 years after the Revenge of the Sith, and you know he's never used his power. He's never had to. He doesn't want to because he knows that what's the group's name again? The something squadron,
Inquisitors.
the Inquisitors. That's it.
Yeah.
Are going around killing the remaining Jedi. And I mean, we saw an episode, I think it was 2, that you had that random Jedi that was on Tatooine
Yep.
just
He got killed.
get
The
yep and
sacrificial lamb.
out, and then hung out in public like they ain't
Mhm.
playing around. So it's like, I'm really interested to see how, far this series really goes with the character of Obi-Wan, and like, is it going to lead up to like how he is in episode 3, or not episode 3, episode 4, when it's Ben and he's just like, I'm Ben Kenobi, like has no recollection to help Luke to understand like who he really is. So, but yeah, I love how we got on a Star Wars topic on Marvel. But hey, like I enjoy the series too. Like I'm really enjoying it. So y'all let us know down in the comments what how you feel about Obi-Wan on this little segment of this. But going back to the Disney Plus series for Marvel, another one, I don't know if y'all seen the trailers or not for it yet, but the She-Hulk series. I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually kind of excited about it. Like it kind of looks good. And like I think there's more comedic aspect to it than there has been, at least with the Hulk character in the last couple of years. But I think that kind of changed when Bruce Banner became like Professor Hulk. But how have y'all two seen the trailer for it yet?
Not gonna lie, I literally watched it about 15 minutes before we started.
I didn't know there was a trailer. So to be
I know that there was a little bit of controversy with the CGI of She-Hulk. I remember seeing that.
But I mean, even then, like the CGI is not going to be perfect before it all comes out. Oh, we lost Jake on his camera. Oh man, we got you on audio though. We got you on audio.
Yeah, let me get to the webcam.
You're good. But yeah, no, I mean, but you got to put in perspective. Like the CGI is not going to be perfect, at least for the first trailer. It's not. Like every other trailer that Marvel's released before, you can go back and find that like CGI, it was not good up until the movie came out, and it's like, oh, that CGI looks real good. And they're spending millions on these Disney Plus series, quality wise. Like they're using it as like treating it as a movie basically, in that sense of how they're filming it and budget wise and everything.
I think it's huge too that they were able to get Mark Ruffalo, like a big name, like that, one of the Avengers, to come into one of these Disney Plus shows. I think it's something that we all want to see.
But even then, it's like how could you not bring Mark Ruffalo back as Bruce Banner or Hulk? Because in the comic books, that's how She-Hulk came to be. Is she got shot, I think, or got in an accident, and she needed a blood transfusion, and the only living relative that she has is Bruce. So it's just like, I don't know if that's what they're going to kind of play on to in that sense with that, or if it's just going to be like they just tested her on the machine that gave Hulk his powers, and it really didn't do like make her go like dumb Hulk, basically, in that sense, like we got from the Avengers when they're fighting on the Hella carrier and everything. Helen Keller.
She didn't exist, by the way.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. It seems like it's going to be a good one, especially when she's not afraid to just go out. At least on the trailer, it seems like she's not afraid to go out in public as like her big green self. But a lot of people had like a problem, like you said, Nick, with the CGI, but like how she was not as like muscular and everything. It's like, well, do you really want to see a She-Hulk about the size of like a regular Hulk? Like, let's get really.
Yes. I saw the poster. I saw the poster and I saw the green legs and I thought it was a lizard more than
because it's just not bulky. No Way Home.
Yeah, I mean it just had a lizard look to it more than a like masculine. But I mean, like, I need to watch the trailer.
So. It's pretty good, I'll say that.
Yeah, and it looks like it has its potentials for it and everything. So all right, the next one we're going to talk about, and this will be our final one of the day, is going to be Moon Knight. Now, I know I've talked to you two boys. Y'all have yet to finish the series. I'm telling you right now, you need to watch it all the way through.
Is it important for things to come? Because that's the thing.
This is where I think Marvel did a fantastic job. It is not tied to anything in the Marvel universe, MCU. Like it's its own standalone thing, and it gave off the Joker vibes. The movie The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, it kind of gave off that like I don't want to say nostalgia, but in that sense, that like mood and that creativity of it, like I really enjoyed Moon Knight. And Isaac, what's his last name? I done forgot it.
We haven't watched it.
Oscar
so-
Oscar
Isaac.
Isaac, yeah. Like
Mr.
yeah.
Ed.
I think the way he portrays this character, and at least to give Jake some background on this and some of our viewers too about this, like the character, he has multiple personality disorder, like it happens, and just the way that Oscar goes back and forth, and it's not like I said, going back and forth like how William Dafoe did his Green Goblin. It was just like turn the camera and turn back, and he like it's like that instantly, and it's mind-blowing how well he did for both these characters, at least the main two personalities that you see throughout this series. But spoiler alert, yeah, Nick's but yeah, in that sense. But I mean, guys, like I'm not gonna lie to you, like I'm thinking this Moon Knight like is going to be an important character in the future, because I think it's going more so into the darker side of the mystic side of like kind of like Doctor Strange, because at some point it'll be like, at least in the comic books, there was a little group that it was like Doctor Strange, Ghost Rider, Daredevil, Moon Knight, all sons of something. I forgot the name of it, but like they're kind of doing the more bad, not so good things to help out society and everything. And I think that's what the series is doing. Is kind of setting up that thing. So
everything is just getting super dark.
well,
They're
at least
testing
in
the limits of Disney Plus.
Yeah.
yeah, in that sense. But I mean, it's not, I won't say it's as dark as Doctor Strange was, the second movie. I'll say that much. It's not that dark, but there are some elements just like, wait a minute, like what just happened? And it kind of goes into the more mentality side too. And it's like I say, it gives off that real Joker, like you really want to feel for this character, because you know there's some people out there that have this disorder and you know can't control it in that sense. But you know, honestly, I think I was really hoping they do a season 2 of Moon Knight, to be honest with you, just how good I thought this series was. And then the villain, Ethan Hawke's character, I thought was really, really good. I thought he was better than some MCU movie villains personally, just on his motivation and everything. But y'all two haven't seen the whole series just yet. So.
I'll go watch it tonight. How about
Yeah.
that? I'll come prepared for class next week.
Bet. So, but yeah, guys, let us know your comments down below. Like, which Disney series did you like so far with these new ones coming out, with She-Hulk coming out soon? Another one that we forgot to talk about here is Miss Marvel.
I was hoping you'd forget.
Yeah. Yeah. Miss Marvel. To be honest with you, this character, like, I think personally it may be a little childish just based off the trailers. But I know they're trying to go for the younger audience, and then like she's more of a newish character in the sense of the last 10 years. The trailer, personally, like there's a lot of stuff that they changed based off the origin of her and how her powers work. So I'm interested to see. I won't say you'll see me staying up till 2:00 in the morning on a Wednesday or Tuesday evening going into Wednesday morning. Like to watch it. I'll say that much. You ain't gonna see me do it, but
I probably will not watch it unless I absolutely have to.
I'll probably end up watching it. I will say it's definitely a story we need to be told.
Yeah,
obviously it needs to be fleshed out, but maybe it may not be for everyone. I'll say
yeah. And you know, I agree. I mean, they're trying to diversify the MCU and everything, and just you know, trying to get these characters that nobody's really know about and you know have any knowledge of, like how we have Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Hulk, Spider-Man, and everything. You know, I really think they're trying to push that like that group of heroes in the MCU, or at least in the comic books, you know, to be more of a forefront, especially with this new phase going through, when most of our heroes that we know and love from the first phase one are, you know, all we have now is just Hulk and Thor. That's it. And I don't know if you necessarily count Hawkeye with that series, but
You count
you know.
Ant-Man, the second greatest character in the MCU.
Now I said from the first phase. Now that's from phase.
My bad.
No, you're good. I'm picking, but yeah, that I mean, like Ant-Man, I could see, you know, forefronting this like new phase and being more of an importance because, you know, I think what they're doing with what's his name, the actor that plays him, Scott Lang,
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd, yeah, man never ages. Like he looks the exact same as he did 30 years ago. Like,
and he's like 50 something now.
Yeah. And so I'm like, if they can keep him around and if he can keep his like youth look for a while, I think they'll make him, you know, just as important as Iron Man and Robert Downey Jr. was to the first like 3 phases, and then, you know, carry that on personally. But, you know, it is what it is. But all right, guys. Well, that will do it for the Dan Talk podcast. I'd like to thank my boys Nick and Jake for joining me on this. And, you know, I really want to give a big shout out to everybody coming back. I know it's been a very long time, but, you know, it's glad to be back. Hopefully we will do some more stuff later on and as we continue through this summer and everything. But thank you, and we'll see you next time.